Now at 9, Miami's new principal speaks on the challenges in anticipation for the new school year. Plus, MSSU shows its Lions pride with an annual back-to-school tradition. And John Whipkey just turned 100, and he's got stories to tell about the life in service.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Anthony Saviello. Miami Public Schools kicks off a new year with new leadership and new rules. But as KOAM's Ty Parks reports, one thing that hasn't changed is the focus on student success in and out of the classroom.
Miami Public Schools starts off a new school year with a new principal.
You know, our mission is that we provide students opportunity to become productive citizens, and of course we would love to grow students that want to stay in this community and thrive and help our community grow, but most certainly we want students to feel comfortable going anywhere and feeling that they're equipped to be successful.
Oklahoma Secretary of Education Ryan Walters recently handed down new mandates for Oklahoma Public Schools.
You know, we received word, like everybody else, that potentially state testing might be put on hold. That does not change our direction in curriculum or the way we conduct business.
There's still lots of things that are up in the air about that. It's possible that we could see this come to reality, but there's still a long way to be able to make that happen.
With the potential for state testing up in the air, math teacher Jordan Harrison says they're putting focus elsewhere.
Instead of being so test heavy and making the kids anxious about the tests that's coming up, I think it's better to be able to teach into real world and not have that looming pressure of the test. That I think that gives the teachers also more freedom, that they can teach according to the curriculum and go at the pace that their kids need to be going at. Let's understand the context rather than understanding for a test.
While Harrison likes the idea of more flexibility in the classroom, other teachers rely on those benchmarks.
And sometimes I think it's a catch-22. Some teachers really like that, but some teachers need the freedom to be able to say, here's the curriculum. This is what I feel like is super important in the real world.
A real world full of changes these students hopefully will be prepared for. In Miami, Oklahoma, Ty Parks, KOAM News.
Miami Public Schools say it is always prepared to offer its students a higher quality education. Missouri Southern is roaring with pride today as it hosts its annual Spirit Tunnel. This pep rally brings together the school's athletics, cheerleaders, and band. The faculty says it's all for one purpose: to welcome new students and ignite unmistakable Lion spirit.
It makes them feel welcomed, and they see that there are people who are excited to see them here and excited to be part of their journey. We're really excited to see what lies in store for them.
The new freshman class was treated to snacks and beverages to help celebrate their new school. Well, let's go ahead and check in with Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy.
Well, it definitely turned out to be another hot one outside for us on this Friday. And unfortunately, really no changes heading into the weekend. We're looking at upper 90s all the way through Tuesday. We do have a heat advisory in effect, kind of low criteria, that heat index, about 100 to 105 degrees across the region. Some rain chances next Tuesday into Wednesday, and then a little bit cooler as we get into late next week. All right, let's go through time. So 76, 77 to start. So a very muggy start across the region. As we get into the afternoon, a lot of 96s, 97s, 98 for afternoon highs. So it's going to be hot Saturday, very similar to what we saw today. Heading into Sunday afternoon, much of the same, 96, 97, 98 degrees. But we're going to look at those rain chances all coming up here in just a bit.
Doug, thanks. A local veteran who has dedicated his life to service is celebrating 100 years of life this weekend. KOAM's Mitch Adams brings us more.
While living a life of service, John Whipkey has reached a milestone for anybody to be proud of. Whipkey was born on August 14, 1925 in Fairland, Oklahoma. Growing up in the 1920s and 1930s, Whipkey had chores like other kids and rode a pony to school, which is no short ride, 6 miles to be exact.
I rode a horse to school every day, and I've got a certificate showing that I went to school every day, all through grade school, and never missed a day. Rode horse to school. Had an old pony that I rode. It's about 6 miles to Old Geechee School. And in the school was the biggest part of the kids there were Indian.
He soon enlisted in the Army after receiving a draft letter at just 18 years old.
I got a draft notice, and they told me when I was supposed to report. I thought, well, they'll put me wherever they take a notion, and I'll go enlist in something. I enlisted in the Air Force. Them days it was Army Air Force. There wasn't no difference. You had the same uniform and everything. It was Army Air Force. And I enlisted and got a month off.
Whipkey dedicated many years of his life to service, even after the military, serving one term as mayor of Fairland, Oklahoma, and many years as a deacon and an elder here at the First Christian Church.
Just like you love your work, you got to have a job that you like to do. I always liked my work because I was doing the work, working for something, fixing something for somebody else, and I felt like that was, a lot of times I could care less about the pay. Sometimes I didn't make very much.
After 100 years of making memories and serving his country and community, Mr. Whipkey has kept his mind sharp and his wit even sharper. In Fairland, Oklahoma, Mitch Adams, KOAM News.
Whipkey was honorably discharged from his role in the military in 1946. His birthday celebration will take place with family and friends tomorrow in Fairland. Coming up, the nation's capital needs cleaning up, according to President Trump. Fox's Mark Meredith has that story.
As President Trump vows to clean up crime in the nation's capital, there's a new question about who's really in charge. I'm Mark Meredith in Washington. I'll have the latest coming up.
But up first, when the kids leave the nest, it can leave parents with a mix of emotions and how to turn that empty feeling into a fulfilling new chapter. Back to school can not only be stressful for students, but also parents. And if your child is leaving home for college or to start a job, there can be feelings of sadness, loss, and even depression. In today's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither talks to a psychologist about healthy ways to cope with empty nest syndrome.
When the chicks take flight, sometimes the nest can feel a little empty.
It can trigger a wide range of emotions, everything from pride and joy to loneliness and grief.
Psychologist Susan Alberts with Cleveland Clinic says when children go off to college or to a job, it's not the end of your parenting story, but the beginning of a new chapter. Instead of thinking of the nest as empty, consider it expanded.
Your love, care, guidance goes beyond the four walls of your home to their new location.
Albert says to continue staying involved in your child's life without hovering. If your student's heading off to college, follow the school's social media page or read about campus events in the newsletter.
This is going to help you to ask thoughtful questions and stay connected to understanding what's happening in their everyday life.
To cope with sad feelings, Albert says to allow yourself to name what you feel. Noticing your emotions may help you process them. And create a connection ritual, a time each day when you talk to your child or exchange text messages, maybe in between classes or before bed. She says to also focus on gains, not gaps. You may now have time for a new hobby, to learn something new, or volunteer. It's also a good time to reconnect with a partner or friends or do some traveling.
Remember that it is not just about filling your time, but finding things that give you a sense of purpose.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Albers says setting a new routine for yourself is also helpful, as the scrutiny of knowing what to expect can help steady your emotions. She also suggests giving your home a fresh start, maybe rearrange a room, plant new flowers, or create a space for a hobby. She says this signals to your brain that life is moving forward in a positive way. Well, Apple is bringing blood oxygen detection back to its latest smartwatches. The announcement comes after the company was forced to stop offering it on U.S. models. The feature is meant to help people understand their respiratory health. Apple started offering it in 2020 during the early stages of the COVID-19 pandemic, but the International Trade Commission weighed in with a ruling in 2023. It said the tech giant violated a patent from digital health company Masimo, then blocked imports of watches with the feature. Now, U.S. Customs has given Apple the green light for shipping a revamped version of the technology. The feature can be added to Apple Watch Series 9, Series 10, and Ultra 2 models in the U.S. through a software update on Thursday. Doug is next with a complete look at your forecast and later. President Trump arrives in Alaska for a high-stakes meeting with Putin that could change the course of the war in Ukraine.
Well, definitely turned out to be another hot, humid Friday. We were a little bit cooler at the beginning of the week, and then it's really heated up over the past several days, and it's really dried out. We've had a few hit and miss little storms down through eastern parts of Oklahoma, northern parts of Arkansas. Everybody else dry, and that's what we're going to see as we go through the weekend. Let's walk through the next 48 hours. We're going to start your Saturday morning 75, 76 degrees. It's hot. It's humid, rapid warm up into the lower 90s, maybe even mid 90s by noon, so 93 to 95 degrees. Once we get into the afternoon, here's your high temp at about 4 to 4:30. A lot of 96s, 7s, and 8s. So if you're heading to Lake, Stockton, Table Rock, Beaver, Grand, yeah, it's going to be hot. It's going to be very humid, but it should be dry. Pretty much clear skies heading into your Sunday morning, 76, 77 degrees. Once again, as we get into Sunday afternoon, a few more cumulus clouds, but again, high temps, 96, 97, 98 degrees across the region. So if we break down and summarize your weekend, consistency is a good term. 97s each day, heat index about 100, 103, popping to 105 in some spots. Here's the reason why our dew points are up there. When you see dew points in that 70 to 74 degree range in the summer, it's not good. It makes it feel muggy, too soupy, and that's what we're going to have. So this means our heat index is going to be up there. So heat index again, Saturday, 100 upwards to about 105. Let me take you into Sunday. Does it change? No, it does not. Heat index 100 to about 105. There is a very slight chance there could be a random thunderstorm Sunday afternoon, but I'm going to keep it dry. All right, can you find the area of high pressure? Look at the circulation. What this does is it keeps the storms, that monsoonal moisture, and it rotates it around, but we're under the heat dome, so we stay hot and dry, and we're going to stay under that dome as we go through the weekend. It just kind of sits on us. So here's Monday. Now, next week it starts to shove its way back toward the west. I do want to point out, here's Hurricane Aaron. Looks like it'll track just east of the eastern seaboard. Now, with high pressure moving back west, see this wave? This may rotate in. So we may get a weak cold front that tries to slip into the region. Then we get a little bit of a northwest flow. So this could cool us down a little bit as we get into late next week. Fingers crossed. Let's go into next week. So here's Monday. It's much of the same, upper 90s to near 100 degrees. We're going to do that same thing again on Tuesday, upper 90s to near 100 degrees. Some changes though, chance for rain Tuesday night into Wednesday. And look at this, we could be looking at 80s for highs by the time we get to next Thursday, which would be fantastic. Not this weekend, 97 Saturday, 97 Sunday, 97 Monday, 97 on Tuesday. But look at this, 92 Wednesday, 88 on Thursday before the 90s return as we go into next weekend. Anthony?
Doug, thanks. Coming up, a high-priced California collectible car show.
Some of the most valuable vehicles in the world are gathered right here in Pebble Beach, California. Coming up, we'll show you one car that could fetch more than $20 million at auction. That's next.
Car collectors are cruising to the California coast to see some of the most rare and expensive vehicles in the world. Fox Business correspondent Max Gordon is in Pebble Beach, has more on the auctions and competitions.
Among the countless beautiful cars on display here at Pebble Beach, if you got the cash, you might be able to drive away with one. Right now, we're at Gooding Christie's auction house, where they've got about 180 cars that are going to hit the auction block. And behind me here is the most valuable one they've got here. This is a 1961 Ferrari 250 GT California. You might remember a similar looking one from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, except that one was in red. This one is valued at around $20 million. And if it hits $22 million at auction, it would be the most expensive vehicle that Gooding Christie's has ever auctioned.
We are selecting, over a course of 365 days of the year, what we think is the most fashionable, the highest quality, and the most special cars that you can see. And we're putting them right in front of people. They can touch them. They're right there. And you know that what we are trying to create a great public auction, a real euphoria, a fantastic lifestyle event.
And if you do choose to buy one of these cars, it could turn out to be a good investment. According to the Knight Frank Luxury Investment Index, classic cars are up about 1% over the past year and up 58.9% over the past 10 years. And amongst all the bidding, there's the competition here at Pebble Beach. Around 200 classic vehicles selected from around the world competing for best in show. Expert judges critique their elegance, technical merit, and history. Thursday, many of the entrants took to the road for the annual Tour d'Elegance, where the owners can prove that their cars are roadworthy and gain an advantage in the competition. And while there are a whole lot of fancy cars here at Pebble Beach, I think I might have found something maybe a little bit more in my price range. Right here is a 1984 Lada Niva. It's valued at between $15,000 and $25,000. In Pebble Beach, California, Max Gordon, Fox Business.
Well, one of the country's most iconic agriculture brands says tariffs are hurting. In an earnings call Thursday, tractor maker John Deere estimated tariffs could cost it $600 million this year. The company has already attributed $300 million worth of costs to tariffs for 2025. That helped sink net income for the quarter. Wall Street punished the company with a nearly 7% drop in its share Thursday. Company executives said they are counting on trade deals and a more favorable tax environment to help it in the future. Coming up next, find out how a fourth grader started a national holiday dedicated to doing absolutely nothing. If you have a favorite way to relax, well, today is the perfect day to do it because it's National Relaxation Day. Whether it's work, family, or other commitments that keep our lives busy, taking an extended breather can be a significant way to reduce stress. Many of us have a favorite activity to de-stress, but this day might be the chance to try something new. Turns out National Relaxation Day was not the brainchild of an adult, but of someone much younger. The idea was for the day is credited to fourth grader Sean Moeller in 1985. The youngster told an interviewer that people shouldn't do anything of real value for a day. You can share with others what you're doing today to relax. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. Coming up, Vladimir Putin and President Donald Trump met this evening at the Alaska Summit. Fox News correspondent Connor Hansen has more. And D.C. is taking the federal government to court after a power shakeup put the nation's capital under federal control.
You're watching the 4 states' most watched news.
President Donald Trump wrapped up his summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Friday, but he says there are still points to be agreed on before reaching a ceasefire in Ukraine. Fox News correspondent Connor Hansen is in Anchorage with a look at the talks.
Talks between President Trump and Russia's Vladimir Putin lasted for nearly 3 hours. The two leaders agreed they'd like to stop the fighting in Ukraine and restore Russia-U.S. relations, but there was no mention specifically of an immediate ceasefire. President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin began their high-stakes summit with a handshake, but ended without a ceasefire in Ukraine.
I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate, and I'll, of course, call up President Zelensky and tell him about today's meeting. It's ultimately up to them.
We need to eliminate all the primary causes of that conflict and agree with President Trump that naturally the security of Ukraine should be ensured as well.
After greeting one another at Elmendorf Air Force Base, the two leaders took President Trump's limo to the summit site where they spoke for more than 2.5 hours. President Trump says he wouldn't accept anything less than a ceasefire during Friday's talks. To end the fighting, Moscow has called for an end to Western weapons shipments to Ukraine and demanded Kyiv give up territory as part of any potential peace deal.
There were many, many points that we agreed on, most of them, I would say, a couple of big ones that we haven't quite gotten there, but we've made some headway.
Trump suggested there will likely have to be some give and take on boundaries, but Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky says Ukraine won't give up any territory captured by Russia during the war.
We hope for a strong position from the U.S. Everything will depend on this. The Russians respect American strength alone.
There was no word on a second meeting involving Zelensky, though President Trump said he'd be calling him shortly after the summit. Both Trump and Putin suggested they'd be speaking very soon. Putin even suggesting Trump visit Moscow. In Anchorage, Alaska, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
Well, the Trump administration continues its crackdown on crime in the nation's capital, with the Attorney General announcing new federal measures and the mayor of D.C. pushing back on the federal presence in the city. Fox News correspondent Mark Meredith reports.
It's a power struggle in the nation's capital as the D.C. government announces it's suing the federal government, asking a court to block the federal takeover of the city.
I honestly think it's very scary to see this. It's just sad.
President Trump announced the deployment of federal law enforcement officers earlier this week, saying he wants to crack down on crime in the Capitol.
We've made 156 arrests, 27 firearms have been seized. We are going to protect D.C. and make it safe again.
The lawsuit comes after Attorney General Pam Bondi announced on Thursday that she was stripping power from the D.C. police chief and naming DEA head Terry Cole as the department's emergency police commissioner. D.C.'s mayor, Democrat Muriel Bowser, says Bondi is overstepping her authority. The mayor writing on X, quote, "We have followed the law. In reference to the U.S. Attorney General's order, there is no statute that conveys the district's personnel authority to a federal official." Bondi also ended D.C.'s sanctuary city status, revoking any order that limits how police officers can handle interactions with illegal immigrants.
D.C. will not remain a sanctuary city actively shielding criminal aliens. Will not happen. Under Donald Trump's directive, D.C. will become safe again, and it will become clean again.
Now, the president has the power to deploy federal law enforcement in the nation's capital for about 30 days before his actions must be reviewed by Congress, which means it'll come up in September. In Washington, Mark Meredith, Fox News.
Doug is next with another look at your forecast, and later scientists are turning to sleeping honeybees to help solve a major problem in artificial intelligence.
Center for the Arts.
Well, definitely turned out to be another hot, humid Friday. We were a little bit cooler at the beginning of the week, and then it's really heated up over the past several days, and it's really dried out. We've had a few hit and miss little storms down through eastern parts of Oklahoma, northern parts of Arkansas. Everybody else dry, and that's what we're going to see as we go through the weekend. Let's walk through the next 48 hours. We're going to start your Saturday morning 75, 76 degrees. It's hot. It's humid, rapid warm up into the lower 90s, maybe even mid 90s by noon, so 93 to 95 degrees. Once we get into the afternoon, here's your high temp at about 4 to 4:30, a lot of 96s, 7s, and 8s. So if you're heading to Lake, Stockton, Table Rock, Beaver, Grand, yeah, it's going to be hot, it's going to be very humid, but it should be dry. Pretty much clear skies heading into your Sunday morning, 76, 77 degrees once again. As we get into Sunday afternoon, a few more cumulus clouds, but again, high temps, 96, 97, 98 degrees across the region. So if we break down and summarize your weekend, consistency is a good term. 97s each day, heat index about 100, 103, popping to 105 in some spots. Here's the reason why our dew points are up there. When you see dew points in that 70 to 74 degree range in the summer, it's not good. It makes it feel muggy, too soupy, and that's what we're going to have. So this means our heat index is going to be up there. So heat index again, Saturday, 100 upwards to about 105. Let me take you into Sunday. Does it change? No, it does not. Heat index 100 to about 105. There is a very slight chance there could be a random thunderstorm Sunday afternoon, but I'm going to keep it dry. All right, can you find the area of high pressure? Look at the circulation. What this does is it keeps the storms, that monsoonal moisture, and it rotates it around, but we're under the heat dome, so we stay hot and dry, and we're going to stay under that dome as we go through the weekend. It just kind of sits on us. So here's Monday. Now, next week it starts to shove its way back toward the west. I do want to point out, here's Hurricane Aaron. Looks like it will track just east of the eastern seaboard. Now, with high pressure moving back west, see this wave? This may rotate in. So we may get a weak cold front that tries to slip into the region. Then we get a little bit of a northwest flow. So this could cool us down a little bit as we get into late next week. Fingers crossed. Let's go into next week. So here's Monday. It's much of the same, upper 90s to near 100 degrees. We're going to do that same thing again on Tuesday, upper 90s to near 100 degrees. Some changes though, chance for rain Tuesday night into Wednesday. And look at this, we could be looking at 80s for highs by the time we get to next Thursday, which would be fantastic. Not this weekend. 97 Saturday, 97 Sunday, 97 Monday, 97 on Tuesday. But look at this, 92 Wednesday, 88 on Thursday before the 90s return as we go into next weekend. Anthony?
Doug, thanks. Still ahead, the Royals and Cardinals begin weekend series. Plus, get a sneak peek at Webb City and Sarcoxy 2025 football teams. Ben McLeish has those stories and more up next in sports.
He wrote.
The Webb City Cardinals are coming off a district championship and state quarterfinals appearance a year ago, but they aren't satisfied with last year's performance. After finishing the regular season with a sub-500 record in 2024, the Cardinals entered the offseason motivated with the leadership from the senior class. This Webb City squad is ready to turn back the clock and get back to their traditional success.
Everyone knows last year wasn't the standard of Webb City football. And so, our seniors have really taken the ownership of, they're going to get Webb City football back to where it's supposed to be. And that's just been the work ethic of it. And we had a great off-season program. Everyone knows the expectations. Everyone knows where this program is supposed to be. And this senior group wants to make sure they're the group that gets us back there.
Whenever we were young, watching the older guys score 40, 50 a game almost every game, we really just want to get back to that. And last year was kind of a down year. I mean, we made it past districts, though. We took off near the end. But we really just want to win lots of games this year and get back to what Webb City's used to.
One of the seniors leading the way for the Cardinals is quarterback Gabe Johnson. Johnson missed all of last year due to an ACL injury and is ready to return to action after using the 2024 season to learn and become a more complete player.
I'm really excited. I've just been waiting for however long it's been. Really just learning the plays, learning defenses, how to read them, line blocking.
Gabe's sophomore year, he was just a great athlete that was playing football. And, the blessing of missing last year was he got a chance to kind of focus on the X and O's and his football IQ is so much higher now than it was as a sophomore. And he kind of got a chance to develop that side of it last year. And he's gone from an athlete playing football to now he's just a great football player. There's not a lot of kids like him in Southwest Missouri, or maybe the state of Missouri. So to be able to have one of those guys on your team that brings so much to the table is awesome. And the great thing is he's a really good leader for us. He's a really good teammate.
Webb City kicks off its 2025 season at home against Lebanon on August 29th. Sarcoxy football is coming off a winning season in 2024 despite having a young, inexperienced team. Now the Bears look to take the next step in the Southwest Conference, and they have the experience to do so. They return several key players on both sides of the ball, and they'll look to recreate their season in 2023 where they won 8 games. Sarcoxy head coach Russell Ellis comes back for his 11th season, ready to build off of last year's successes.
We played a lot of young guys last year, and a lot of young guys got a ton of experience and know what it's like to play against top-level teams. We ended up losing against Warsaw, who gave state championship Lamar all they wanted. And so we got a ton of experience coming back, and we're just hoping with that experience we can build on that and get better every day.
The Bears don't plan to make any changes to their offensive identity this season. They're going to run the ball down opposing teams' throats, utilizing QBs, running backs, and wide receivers in the running game. And plenty of key skill players and offensive linemen return as starters for Sarkozy.
This is my 11th year we run the ball. You come out here and watch us, you're going to see Army, Navy type football, triple option, run. For skill position, we return Gatlin a lot, has probably the most experience as a running back, one of our wing backs. We return Lane Everett as a wide receiver, did a great job as a tight end too. Up front, we return significant pieces, Gray Phelps, Cole Kelhofer, Lucas Pedro.
Sarkozy begins its season on August 29th against the Skyline Tigers. In Major League Baseball, the Royals and Cardinals began weekend series with both teams looking to get back above 500. And the Royals do exactly that with a 3-1 win over the White Sox to get to 61-61 on the season. Tomorrow they'll look to take the series over Chicago and get back above 500. But the Cardinals currently trail the Yankees 4-3 in the 8th. They still have 2 more chances to tie it up. Well, that's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
Ahead of World Honeybee Day on Saturday, August 16th, technology experts say these magnificent creatures may hold the clues to making artificial intelligence programs more efficient. Fox News' Ted Linder takes a closer look at what all the buzz is about.
As the artificial intelligence boom keeps exploding, the drive for systems to learn and do more is revving up. But technology experts at Arizona State University are highlighting an ongoing issue plaguing AI programs called catastrophic forgetting.
If you train an AI system to do a particular task, and then you take that same system and you train it to do another task, if you then go back and ask it to do the first task that it previously been trained to do, it often just doesn't do well at all.
According to Professor Ted Pavlik, possible solutions to combating this information loss may lie within the brains of sleeping honeybees.
From bees to humans, you don't see this catastrophic forgetting. And one of the thoughts is that sleep is doing a consolidation process that after you learn one thing, it sort of puts it into a part of your brain where it's kind of safeguarded. And we're trying to figure out how to build similar forms of sleep by looking at how honeybee sleep is organized in their brain so that we can do something similar in AI systems.
Look at that.
Honeybee brains are really great for this work because they have the complexity to learn lots of things.
Teams at ASU are training bees to learn new tasks and then putting them to sleep to analyze their brain functions.
And we can actually watch the bee brain reconfigure itself during the sleep process so that we can get new insights into how we should organize our own artificial sleep.
Experts say this is because the way a bee's brain is structured is similar to that of AI systems. Ted Lindner, Fox News.
The U.S. Supreme Court is letting Mississippi enforce a social media law requiring age verification and parental consent for minors. State officials say it's to protect kids from predators citing sextortion cases, including one that led to a teen suicide. Opponents argue it violates the First Amendment and limits safe spaces for LGBTQ youth. Justice Brett Kavanaugh called it likely unconstitutional, but said harm wasn't proven. The decision is temporary while lower courts review it. An intruder showed up yesterday near the area where President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin were set to have their summit at a military base in Anchorage, Alaska today. But the appearance did not set off an international incident. The interloper was just a bear. Reporters in the area called out bear to warn others of the animal's presence. Maybe the bear felt it was among friends. Ironically, the bear is Russia's national symbol. Up next, LL Cool J is back as VMA host, and Jessica Simpson returns to the stage. Plus, first looks at Wednesday and Nobody Wants This. A host for this year's MTV VMAs has been announced, and we take a look at the second part of Wednesday's second season. Fox's Ashley Dvorkin has all this and more in today's Hollywood Nation.
A creepy and kooky continuation. Simpson returns to the stage, and LL runs the show in today's Hollywood Nation. The 2025 MTV VMAs announced Grammy and VMA Award winner LL Cool J will MC this year's ceremony. He'll host solo for the first time after previously co-hosting with Nicki Minaj and Jack Harlow in 2022. The VMAs air September 7th on CBS and Paramount+. Jessica Simpson will take the stage with a one-night-only performance at PH Live at Planet Hollywood Resort and Casino November 8th. The show follows the release of Simpson's EP, Nashville Canyon Part 1, her first original music release in 15 years. Part 2 is set for September 4th. In today's First Looks is a sneak peek at Season 2 of Netflix's Nobody Wants This. New Pick show stars Kristen Bell and Adam Brody as the agnostic podcaster and unconventional rabbi, now a couple merging their lives. The comedy returns October 23rd.
Rise and shine, sleepyhead.
The streamer also shared a look at Part 2 of Wednesday's second season.
If I'm not dead, then why are you here?
A trailer features the return of Gwendolyn Christie as Principal Weems, Wednesday's new spirit guide, as the team races to save Enid and her nevermore friends, uncover dark mysteries, and unravel family secrets.
There will be a price to pay.
Fans listening closely picked up on a very Lady Gaga-sounding voice towards the end of the clip, possibly foreshadowing her role. The new episodes drop September 3rd. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.